Hey guys, it's Sign here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're doing another manga review. Today we're looking at Golden Kamuy, which is a seinen manga. It's created by Satoru Noda, who is relatively famous, I would say. They also have a series called Dogs Red, which is a hockey series, which is a continuation of an old failed project, if I remember correctly. So here's Golden Kamuy number 1. I can't remember how I ended up, getting these, but I do remember I've tried reading through this series before, digitally on the Viz app, and then I remember that I didn't like reading it on the Viz app, actually because it wasn't on the app, it was on the website, and I just don't like how the website looks. I think the app is phenomenal, but the website is bad. Then I found most of these, I think, at Half Price Books. Ended up collecting the first 5 volumes, which will be what I review this year. So let's get started here. Golden Kamuy arc number 1, the intro arc, which is chapters 1 through 5, which is about 2/3 of this book, as you guys can see right there. This is by Satoru Noda, like I said. The publisher is Viz. The demographic is seinen. You can read it on their website, but I don't recommend it. It's pretty shitty. I recommend you pick up physical editions. And in terms of how much you're going to be paying for them, it's kind of unclear. Because it's a Viz signature, they used to cost $13, but then a few years ago, there was a price increase, which means that I think that they're $15 now. But Golden Kamuy has not required any reprints yet, as far as I understand it. So maybe only the last few volumes will be in that price range. Everything else should be in the $13 range, or if you get lucky and buy it used at like $6 or $7, right? Which is, I think, what I paid for most of these, which is quite good. In terms of genres, I would consider this a Japanese Western, which means it's a frontier story. It follows a character who was a soldier who goes off into the boonies or into the frontier of his country in order to find gold and interacts with native peoples of the region, right? That is very much what a Western does, right? What a Western cowboy would do in a Western novel. So this is the same concept, but the setting is Japan after the Russo-Japanese War. The first one, I think, which is right at the beginning of the Meiji Restoration period, if I remember correctly. I'm not too sure about that, but I'm pretty sure that that's the correct, region of time, right? And this is also a historical fiction story. It follows a character that was supposed to have fought in a historical battle, and it follows characters that are supposed to be based on historical characters, but they have their names changed to some extent, if I remember correctly, kind of like Shogun, right? The characters in Shogun don't have their real names, but they are based on real historical people that existed, right? Similar enough here in this case. It does have an anime adaptation. It's quite good. I did watch a few episodes of it, and I did like it. It's available on Crunchyroll, and I think it's not available anywhere else. So you might have to pick up Crunchyroll in order to watch it. In terms of a rating, it's a 4 out of 5 for me. I think it was really good. It was really enjoyable. But this first arc is not quite at the level that some of the other arcs in the story happen to be. And so it's not quite as good. And it's a little bit lower on the scale. At the same time, in and of itself, I think it fails a little bit in the execution of the concept, mostly because it feels like it repeats itself a bit too many times before it gets anywhere, right? So that's really all there is to say for that. So the premise is that a veteran of the Russo-Japanese War at the beginning of the Meiji Restoration period moved to the frontier to hunt for gold. He was panning for gold in a random river in Hokkaido, which is the northernmost region of Japan. It's the island that looks like the Sinnoh region from Pokemon. It's the northernmost region. And he meets an Aboriginal girl. The name for the Aboriginals of Japan are Ainu, and they used to live in the Hokkaido region as well as in the northern portions of the island south of Hokkaido, and they were pushed back further north as the Japanese people from the lower islands of Japan moved further north, right? But they are significantly distinct enough from Japanese people, but I don't remember if they're like actually just Russians that moved to Japan. I can't remember what it is, but there is some variation between them and like what you traditionally think of as a Japanese person, right? And it's pretty interesting. they become friends or partners on this journey and develop friendship through it. And it's mostly her being his guide through this region of Japan, because he's from far south and he doesn't really understand the culture or the necessary survival skills to exist in this region. Like in its specifics, he understands survival skills because he was a soldier, but not in the specific region, if that makes sense. He doesn't have all of the necessary details to survive. He has the broad concept, if that makes sense. And so the Aboriginal girl helps him with this, right? So that's the premise. The plot line opens up with our introduction to Sugimoto. The Immortal Sugimoto is his name, and he is the veteran soldier of the Russo-Japanese War from 1904. He's panning for gold, like I said, and he's hanging out with a drunk guy who tells him of a hidden stash of Ainu gold. Ainu are the Aboriginals, like I said, and it turns out that this gold was gathered by the Ainu people, used or was going to be used in order to pay off the Japanese, empire, I guess, or soldiers, in order to let them live in peace. When, for whatever reason, all of the people that were the Ainu that were gathering this gold ended up dead, except potentially for one man, and a bunch of people in prison ended up with the knowledge of this Ainu gold and had the map tattooed on their bodies, right? And apparently it's a true story, and this character tells us that it's true because he happens to be one of the men that was tattooed. A very cool concept. It's an awesome treasure hunt idea. And it's actually quite gruesome because since it was painted on their bodies and it was not done in a symmetrical fashion, the skins of these characters have to be removed from their bodies in order for the map to make sense, which is insane, right? Very, very gruesome. Sugimoto is then attacked by a bear as he's interacting with this drunk man, and we get introduced to a Serpa, the Ainu girl, who saves him from the bear attack. Then they fight another bear together and win when an Ezo wolf, which is a specific subspecies of wolf that lived in Hokkaido that has long since been extinct, showed up to help them. And his name is Retar, and he happens to be a Serpa's pet/friend, right? And as they deal with the second bear, they realize that they can take the body of that drunk and skin him in order to get his skin and have a portion of the map. They then go down to Otaru, which is one of the main cities in Hokkaido that has a massive Japanese presence where Japanese people interact with the Ainu. And they go there to look for information. They quickly find it, and then they go down to hunt another man who happens to have tattoos. However, they don't kill him. They actually just copy his tattoos because the Serpa has certain beliefs that stop her from letting Sugimoto kill people, particularly in a kind of dishonorable way, right? There has to be a hunt or a battle that is too difficult to overcome for them to be able to kill people. And the Serpa doesn't let Sugimoto kill this guy just because. And so they copy down his tattoos and then they just have them. So now they have 2 tattoos out of, I think, like 30 something or maybe 60 something. I can't remember. And they learn about this character called Nopara Bo, who is the man who hid the treasure, which means that he was an Ainu. And he's also the man that tattooed all these men. And he is the one that has all the information. So this introduction of this character leads us to either think that we're either going to go find him or that he will eventually show up later in the story to guide our characters to the Ainu gold at some point, right? But it's kind of unclear. Then they have a fight with a soldier from the 7th Division of the Japanese Army, which is the army division that was posted up here in Hokkaido, and were kind of like the vanguard of the Russo-Japanese War. They were like the first team, and they were actually the most powerful group that was fighting against them, apparently. And they managed to break his arm. He runs away, and he's found by his brothers in arms, which is a problem because this means that now the 7th Division, who are also seemingly hunting for the gold, know that Sugimoto is involved and know that there is a young Ainu girl that is with him. And so they can easily identify them going forward, which is a problem, right? And that's basically where this plot for this arc ends. And it was pretty good. I really did enjoy it. But the double fight with the bears was a bit much. The kind of like repetitiveness of the story in such a short amount of chapters was a bit much. Like, okay, you get introduced to the gold idea, you fight a bear, then you fight another bear, then you find another guy with the gold, then you get 2 tattoos, then you fight another guy. Like, just the pacing of it felt kind of not inconsistent, because it was very consistent, but the pacing of it felt weird in the sense that it was just too repetitive and too fast. Like, the situations did not change all that much. And to be honest, this is going to be a quest MacGuffin type thing where every arc is about dealing with different characters and finding more of these characters and getting their tattoos from them, right? But in this first arc, that is just like very much rinse and repeat kind of operation, and it doesn't have a larger context to it. And so that's why I didn't like it quite as much. And so in terms of characters, we get introduced to Sugimoto, Immortal Sugimoto. I can't remember his first name. I think Sugimoto is his last name. He's a soldier. He's someone that is renowned for surviving a lot of stuff. Think the opening like war scene from Wolverine Origins. That kind of like eternal warrior, just kind of continuously gets hit and continues to get up and continues to fight kind of character, right? We have a Serpa, who is the inquisitive young female character. She's different from what you would expect a young girl to be like. She's assertive. She has knowledge of her culture and her people. She knows the forest better than Sugimoto does. And also she is a bit of a guiding light for Sugimoto. And their relationship grows throughout the series, but really we get established quite well here that they're friends. The age, of characters is kind of unclear, but she's about 12 years old and he's about 20. So, they're not contemporaries per se, but they're not so, different that it's like crazy, right? However, it is a purely platonic relationship. So don't think that there's going to be anything crazy like that going forward. It does not, it's not about that at all. Sugimoto has a female character in his past that he cares about. So yeah, and then we have Retar the wolf character and Nepora Bo, who is a unknown person. He's a man that's, basically his face is melted off because he was in a fire accident or something. And he is the character that our protagonists are trying to reach in some way, right? Not directly, but through the finding of the gold, right? And in terms of world building, there really is none, because this is set in the real world. There are elements that are not real, and history is, messed with just a little bit in some instances for the sake of better storytelling, but it is a historical setting. There's lots of setting building, and there's a lot of explanation about the Ainu people and their Ainu traditions, and it's pretty cool. Their beliefs are explained to us in a very respectful manner, and in a way that is really helpful as a way to teach people about the beliefs of these characters. I don't know if Satoru Noda is a Hokkaido native, if he has any, Ainu blood in him or anything like that. I'm not really sure what his attachment to this region of the world is, but it is important to him in some way, because all of his series seem to take place there, right? And I also don't know how historically accurate and how really accurate to proper Ainu real-life traditions his beliefs that are explored in the story are, but I assume that they're pretty high and pretty correct. I'm not sure if that's 100% the case, but I would assume that it is probably quite close to the real thing, right? With some minor caveats here and there for the sake of storytelling, right? In terms of artwork and fan service, it's really great artwork. There's no fan service of any kind. And the artwork is really cool. The physical, way that the characters look is a little bit cartoony in some instances, but it's also quite enjoyable. The action sequences are good. The vestments that the characters wear are really good. Everything looks quite enjoyable to look at, and it is well done. I really like it. The action sequences are very well done as well. In terms of a rating, like I said, 4 out of 5 for me. It's a great concept. It's a pretty good execution, but this first arc does feel very rinse and repeat as we go forward, and that's just not my favorite, because this is the introduction. If you're showing us that this is going to be a rinse and repeat type series, it makes it harder for me to want to read it. The thing is that it really isn't a rinse and repeat series. Each arc is different from the last. They do have the same core elements to them. Find the guy, get the get the tattoo out of him, but it expands in such a way that it's not samey feeling. However, this first arc does feel like that. So yeah, those are my thoughts here. Let me know what you think down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.